Hello. Welcome to my car on a rainy day. Let that rain in the background be a soft meditational sound for you as we share this wisdom of the ages. Yesterday's subject that I was touching upon, quoting that great Neville paragraph, and then talking about how Joel Goldsmith said that supply is an inner quality. That's some of my favorite practical law of assumption, law of attraction, manifesting stuff to talk about. So many of us run into financial difficulties and stress over money. And it's a subject that's still really almost taboo to talk about. And one great thing about talk about these concepts is that people do talk openly about changing your mindset to feel wealthier on the inside, and how building that inner sense of wealth is something that we all can do. We don't have to necessarily be entrepreneurial or be business minded to feel wealthier on the inside, and that if we do succeed in feeling wealthier on the inside, inevitably different, avenues of abundance are shown to us in our life. And we do generate external results often from feeling more wealthier on the inside. But in the very least, like I always like to remind you, the point is, if you convince yourself you feel wealthier on the inside, you feel wealthier on the inside. And just doing that, if your external life does not change that much, but you nonetheless genuinely feel wealthier on the inside, that in itself is something worth doing, in my opinion. And that's why I always come back to really the underlying core concepts of these principles for psychological stress relief, because they're so valuable if you just look at them that way. And chances are, if you really, work on this stuff, do the inner work, then you'll start to see external results as well. It's kind of just an inevitable part of the process. But we start from within. So today, the reason that I'm harking about this stuff in the car, even though it's rainy and dark, is because, well, first of all, I just want to let you know that, as I mentioned yesterday, this is a difficult subject. Convincing yourself that supply is an inner quality in the same way that something like patience is an inner quality, or humility is an inner quality that you kind of bring out. And cultivating supply is an inner quality. This isn't like an overnight thing like we see on YouTube all the time about, manifest $10,000 in 3 days or whatever. That stuff can work. As I always say, that can work. It works for some people. It works occasionally for some people, but it's not sustainable for virtually anybody who is not very used to using these principles. It's harder to do than the people on YouTube make it seem. Okay? If it wasn't harder to do, then everybody would freaking do it, So many people want money. And if there was an easy way to do it, just applying these principles the way these YouTube gurus talk about it, then more intelligent people would do it. Because there's a lot of fucking intelligent people who are trying to make money and are willing to try shit, even if it's really wacky and wild, to make money. If it was easy to manifest stuff the way these Neville gurus and law of attraction gurus talk about it, in 72 hours, in 10 days, in 3 weeks. If it was really that easy, people would fucking try that stuff more, who are intelligent and know how to make money. Because they will try many, many different things and be very out of the box to figure out ways to make money. People who are entrepreneurial and have a good business mind are often very open-minded. So understand that if this stuff that when you hear all these, get quick rich basically type of manifesting advice, it's generally bullshit, and it works for some people, but it's not going to work for the large populace. You know, if it did, it would have already been explored much more. Not to say there's nothing to it. Not to say that these teachers are necessarily intentionally scamming you, although some are. A lot mean well, but it's just not as simple as it sounds for most of us. Okay. This video is already 5 minutes long. Wow. So, yeah, I'm in the car, and this is crazy. I'm gonna fucking go back to Joey Murphy and The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I can't believe it. I read so much of this book, even though it was just a chapter in the last month. I'm gonna read some more. Fuck it, let's do it. It's too good. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Again, it's such a good book to turn back to. If you're like, how do I do this? You know, how do I figure out practical techniques to feel better? How do I figure out practical techniques to heal myself or to help heal others? How do I figure out practical techniques to feel wealthier, to feel that quality of supply within me? Guess what? The Power of Your Subconscious Mind has a lot of great advice on that. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, or as we like to call him when we do night videos here, we've got the light on, Joey Murphy videos. This is from, I believe it's chapter 9. The chapter is called How to Use the Power of Your Subconscious for Wealth. You know, Murphy wrote about wealth in other books, How to Attract Money, for instance. That's a great book. But this chapter of The Power of Your Subconscious Mind covers a lot of great points. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I think right now, I'm feeling ambitious right now, I'll probably spend a couple videos reading sections from this wonderful chapter of Joseph Murphy's book. So, you know, Murphy writes at the beginning of this, if you are having financial difficulties, if you are trying to make ends meet, it means you have not convinced your subconscious mind that you will always have plenty and some to spare. In other words, you have not convinced yourself that supply, abundance, is actually an inner quality within you and not something from the external that you have to get, but something that you have to bring out from within you, an inner quality. Murphy continues, you know men and women who work a few hours a week and make fabulous sums of money. They do not strive or slave hard. Do not believe the story that the only way you can become wealthy is by the sweat of your brow and hard labor. It is not so. The effortless way of life is the best. Do the thing you love to do and do it for the joy and thrill of it. This is really good advice. And that last sentence, do the thing you love to do and do it for the joy and thrill of it, is really something to contemplate. Very wise words of wisdom. And again, this is like something that your wizened old grandfather or the village wiseman would say. That's kind of like what this sounds like. Now, remember, this next section of the book is quoting financials. This is back, I think, in like 1963 that Murphy wrote this. So all these numbers, you know, are probably 10 times higher today. So Murphy writes, I know an executive in Los Angeles who receives a salary of $75,000 yearly. Now, $75,000 annually today is probably closer to, you know, $500,000, $750,000, $1 million annually. Okay. Murphy says, last year, this man went on a 9-month cruise seeing the world in its beauty spots. He said to me that he had succeeded in convincing his subconscious mind that he is worth that much money. In other words, he had convinced his imagination, he had convinced his everyday thinking, his thinking patterns, that he was worth that much money, that he was worth the equivalent today of a, you know, high tax bracket salary. He told me that many men in his organization getting about $100 a week, $100 a week is probably like $1,000 a week, you know, today. Many men getting about $100 a week in his organization knew more about the business than he did and could manage it better, but they had no ambition, no creative ideas, and were not interested in the wonders of their subconscious mind. In other words, they were not interested in utilizing their imagination. The way that Joseph Murphy talks about, the way that Neville talks about, the way that Emile Coué talks about, the way that other great law of attraction teachers talk about. They were not interested in exploring what their thinking patterns, what their imaginal, thoughts could bring to them. They weren't interested in that. They were not interested in bringing out the qualities they want, including the quality of abundance and supply. They weren't truly interested in bringing that out in their life, or they simply didn't know it was an option. This guy, making the equivalent of, $500,000, maybe $1 million a year, taking a 9-month cruise, saying that a lot of people in this organization knew much more than he did, but they didn't know how to use their minds. And so they made literally a fraction of the salary that he did. Next short section of this chapter says, wealth is of the mind. And Murphy writes, wealth is simply a subconscious conviction on the part of the individual. You'll hear something along these lines often in New Thought material. This is a fantastic line. Wealth is simply a subconscious conviction on the part of the individual. Or you could say wealth is an imagined conviction, a belief that you've created imaginally, that you buy into on the part of you, on the part of the individual, which is you. You yourself have imagined yourself wealthy. You believe it. You imaginally believe. You think you are wealthy. You believe it. And because of that, you are wealthy. In the very least on the inside. And, like I said, inevitably over time, that will manifest in ways externally in all likelihood as well. Murphy says, you will not become a millionaire by saying, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire. You will grow into a wealth consciousness by building into your mentality the idea of wealth and abundance. Building into your consciousness the idea of wealth and abundance. Imaginally working on yourself until you believe that you truly have this quality of supply, of wealth, of abundance within you. And then externally, whatever, that's secondary. What's important is internally. This is good advice. That's why I had to make this nighttime rainy car video. Good advice is understating it. This is great fucking advice. All right, I'll probably make more videos about this. Wealth is simply a subconscious conviction on the part of the individual.